You lie here at the end of a day you promised would be different. This morning you set a single rule for yourself, something small and clear, a commitment you believed you could keep. Perhaps it was to speak less hastily in meetings, to put the phone down after dinner, to open the book you bought weeks ago, or to walk for 20 minutes before sunset. The rule itself does not matter as much as the quiet vow you made when you woke. Yet somewhere between breakfast and now, the vow slipped away. You did not reject it loudly or with defiance. You simply let it dissolve in the ordinary friction of the day. And now, as you settle into stillness, the absence of that kept promise sits beside you like an uninvited guest. You are not angry, exactly, but something heavier rests in your chest. It is not shame in the dramatic sense. It is the recognition that you broke faith with yourself, and no one else noticed. The Stoics understood this feeling with clarity. They knew that discipline is not about punishing yourself or performing virtue for an audience. Discipline is the private architecture you build so that your actions align with your intentions. Marcus would remind us that the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. When you set a small rule and then allow it to dissolve, you are not simply missing a goal. You are teaching yourself, quietly and without words, that your own commitments are negotiable. Do this enough times, and the inner voice that proposes better habits begins to lose credibility. You stop believing yourself when you make a promise at dawn. Building better habits is not a matter of willpower in the heroic sense. It is a matter of respect. Self-respect, in Stoic terms, is not pride or self-congratulation. It is the recognition that you are the one person you will spend every moment of your life with, and that this relationship deserves honesty. When you say you will do something small and then fail to do it, you erode trust in the one relationship that shapes all others. Seneca's lesson points toward this when he speaks of the person who is consistent in their character. He suggests that we should not be one person in the morning and another by evening, not because consistency is rigid, but because it is dignifying. You cannot build anything lasting if the ground beneath you shifts with every passing mood. Tonight, consider the habit you want to build not as a performance but as a form of correspondence with yourself. Imagine that each morning you write a letter to the you who will lie down at night. In that letter, you make a single, modest proposal. The evening you, reading that letter in the dark, asks only one question: did the day honor what was written? This is not about perfection. It is about whether you took the letter seriously, whether you treated the morning voice as worth listening to. Epictetus would say that we are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them. The same is true of the promises we make to ourselves. The habit itself might be small, but the view you take of your own word is everything. You may have noticed that the habits hardest to build are often the ones no one else will praise. No colleague applauds you for putting your phone in another room. No friend celebrates your decision to sit quietly for 10 minutes before sleep. These are private acts of order, invisible except to you. And because they are invisible, they test whether you value your own respect more than external reward. The Stoics practiced their philosophy in the early morning and late evening precisely because those hours belong to no one else. In those moments, you are alone with your character. What you do when no one is watching, when no credit will be given, reveals the quality of the relationship you keep with yourself. There is a steadier response to the problem of habit building, and it begins with shrinking the gap between intention and action. Most of us fail not because we lack desire, but because we allow too much distance between the moment we decide and the moment we act. We say we will start tomorrow, or after this week, or when circumstances improve. We treat the future self as infinitely patient, as someone who will certainly have more energy, more clarity, more time. Marcus wrote often in his private notes about doing what is needed now, not later. He was reminding himself that delay is a kind of betrayal. The future you is not a different person with different constraints. It is you, arriving at another now, facing the same choice. If you want to build a better habit, make the first action so small that delay becomes absurd. Do not say you will read for an hour. Say you will open the book. Do not say you will exercise for 30 minutes. Say you will put on the shoes. The Stoic practice is to strip away the drama and the distant horizon and to see only the next honest action. Seneca's wisdom encourages us to treat each day as a complete life. If today were all you had, what single gesture would honor the intention you set this morning? That gesture need not be grand. It need only be real. You might also notice that habits fail most often when we confuse them with identity. We say, I am not a morning person, I am not disciplined, I am not someone who keeps promises. These statements feel like honesty, but they are actually a form of resignation. The Stoics would ask, who is this I you speak of so confidently? Is it the person who failed yesterday, or the person choosing what to do next? Epictetus taught that we are not our past actions. We are the capacity to choose again, right now, in this moment. When you say I am not disciplined, you close the door on the possibility that you might act with discipline in the next 5 minutes. You give yourself permission to remain consistent with a story that no longer serves you. Self-respect, then, is also the willingness to revise that story. Not with grand declarations, but with the quiet evidence of small actions repeated. You do not need to announce that you are becoming disciplined. You only need to keep one promise today, and then another tomorrow, and let the pattern speak for itself. The respect you earn from yourself is not about streaks or perfection. It is about whether you are still trying, still treating your own word as something worth protecting. Marcus would say that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The difficulty of building a habit is not an obstacle to self-respect. It is the condition in which self-respect is formed. Consider also the role of rest in this process. Discipline is not the opposite of rest. It is what makes rest possible. When you keep a promise to yourself, you create a kind of inner order that allows you to lie down without the low hum of self-reproach. You are not replaying the moment you failed or bargaining with yourself about tomorrow. You are simply here, having done what you said you would do, and that completion, however modest, brings a particular kind of peace. The Stoics valued tranquility not as an escape from effort but as the fruit of effort honestly given. You sleep better when you respect yourself, because respect removes the need for endless negotiation with your own conscience. If today was not that day, if the promise dissolved and you find yourself here with that familiar heaviness, you can still choose how you interpret the lapse. You can see it as evidence of your inadequacy, or you can see it as information. What made the promise hard to keep? Was the habit too vague, too large, too dependent on conditions you could not control? Seneca's approach would be to examine the day with curiosity, not cruelty. He believed in the evening review, the practice of asking what went well and what might be adjusted. This is not self-criticism. It is the care you would offer a friend, turned inward. You are learning how to make promises you can keep, and that learning requires honesty, not punishment. Tomorrow morning, you will wake and have another chance to write that letter to your evening self. Make it specific. Make it small. Make it something you can do even on a difficult day. And then, as the hours unfold, remember that you are not trying to impress anyone. You are trying to keep faith with the person who will lie here tomorrow night, hoping to feel the quiet satisfaction of a promise kept. That person is you, and they are worth the effort. The habit you are building is not just the action itself. It is the habit of treating your own word as sacred, of recognizing that discipline is not a burden but a form of love you offer yourself. Let that thought settle as you prepare for sleep. You do not need to solve everything tonight. You only need to rest in the knowledge that tomorrow offers another opportunity, and that the steadiest response to failure is not despair but adjustment. Close your eyes knowing that self-respect is built one small choice at a time, and that the choice to rest well, to let go of today's missteps, is itself a form of discipline. Sleep now, and let the night restore what the day tested.